Hey everybody, welcome to Exiled Minds. This is Gavin.
And this is Trey, and this time we want to talk a little bit about the two-party system that we have here in the United States. We just started reading a little bit of George Washington's 1796 farewell address, where a lot of people point out that he does mention political factions, and they translate that to mean political parties. And he strongly warns against them, saying that if these parties form, then what they're going to do is help the public to a certain extent, and then once they've gotten to the point where they have enough power that they don't need to do that anymore, then they basically have usurped the government and can do whatever they want. And a lot of people are saying that that's what's happened.
I definitely think that we are in a state of problems with the two-party system. For one instance, we find that people will have maybe one issue that they feel extremely strong for and other ones that they may let slide. But I think the point is that people don't always realize which ones are actually letting slide. And sometimes the issues that people will vote for necessarily a Democrat or a Republican, that issue that was extremely important to them, which is why they voted, Democrat or Republican down the bill, becomes forgotten and it doesn't even get hit. So what's the point if you're voting for a president that maybe the issue is important to you, but in the end it's not near as important as the issues that you would rather let slide because you don't agree with, but the president feels are more important?
This is exactly why I don't like to align myself with one political party or the other. I'm definitely leaning more on the liberal side. I'm definitely a progressive, but to call myself a Democrat, when people think of Democrats, I think usually the layman's definition of a Democrat is somebody who is in favor of regulating business, somebody who is in favor of gun control. And regulating business, I'm definitely in favor of. The gun control is not really an issue for me. So that's one reason why I don't like to call myself a Democrat. There's definitely a lot less that I have in common with the Republicans. But I like to go broader scope, just say that I'm a progressive liberal.
I'm personally would consider myself just an independent. It's how I am registered, and I vote basically by. I guess I am kind of in the side of what I said you have to be warned about, in voting for certain issues. But I do pick the issues that are perhaps more important. I definitely lean towards the idea of individual rights. I'm kind of against war for the most part, unless it's absolutely necessary, which I'm not really sure there really is such a thing. But the other issue that I think should be talked about is the idea of having a third-party system, or having a third party in the system. And it's become really difficult for any to actually come in or even come close to becoming a president. I believe we talked the last and probably only person to even come close to it was Roosevelt.
Theodore Roosevelt ran the Bull Moose Party, and I believe he was the first and last third-party nominee to take second place, not last. Which is really interesting from a political viewpoint.
We've discussed earlier maybe why this is, and one thing that I think is every once in a while during a presidential race especially, you hear of one third party coming in and they get a decent amount of support, and then it seems after they lose, which in my eyes is inevitable the first time around, they kind of die out. You don't hear anything about them after the election. The next election you don't hear anything about them. And I think that's part of the problem. People start to get a little more familiar with their platform, where they stand on certain issues, and then after they lose, you don't hear anything about them. They kind of leave. And for any third party to really get any type of backing, I think they need to stay in for more than just 1 year, lose, and then quit doing anything. I think they should keep campaigning.
This is one area that I think we might be seeing more about the Libertarian Party, which is it's gotten a substantial backing. Libertarians are basically the political party that's based on the objectivism philosophy by Ayn Rand, and I think they're a very interesting party because their primary focus appears to me to be freedom all around. And while the Democrats tend to want to enforce legislation and regulation on some of the bigger businesses, which I personally think is a good idea, and the Republicans tend to want to be a little more lax on business and let them fix their own problems, solve their own problems, which I don't think they're going to. Even with regulation, we can't get them to fix a lot of the problems. The libertarians, they kind of, I agree with them in a lot of ways, but they scare me in a lot of ways because everybody likes the idea of freedom. I think freedom is a good thing, but I'm a big fan of freedom for people, not freedom for corporations, even though corporations are legally individuals. But I don't think it should mean that because they're treated from an economic perspective as individuals, I don't think they should be involved in the political arena as much as they are, especially with the amount of money that they're able to donate to candidates.
And I think that's a good point. Not only do we have these two political parties, we also have professional politicians. And what I think's really bad about this, and especially with the two-party system, is sometimes people don't even agree with the issues that they are voting for or voting against. But it comes down to, I need to vote this way because I have to keep in good standings with my party. If I don't stay in good standings with my party, then I won't have the backing from this person or that person, and I may not get reelected. And although I do believe that, they should want to get reelected, but they should also not have the best interest of themselves, whether or not they're going to be rehired or have the backing, but be able to just rely on the people, vote the way they're supposed to. That's kind of why I lean towards the idea of maybe we should get rid of political parties and just bring in people, intelligent people, that's main concern isn't what my party thinks, but what the people think, what the people want. Main reason, BP has this oil spill right now, and it could have been avoided because there are regulations in other countries that would have actually avoided this issue, but it's not mandatory in the United States. And the number one reason for that is because politicians are backed by these big oil companies that don't want that. Yeah, maybe BP's regretting it now, but do we really want politicians in there that aren't saying, well, this is what's best for the environment, this is what's best for the people? No, they just want what's best for the people backing them. And that's a huge problem with the whole entire political system, not just two parties.
I think the political party is going to be around for a long time for the very reason that when you're talking about individuals running for office, it's an expensive process to get your message out nationwide. And without the support, the financial support, and the help from large groups of backers, you would have a real hard time running for president. And I think that's why it's going to be really hard to get rid of political parties if we ever do. But I think it is a good goal to seek. I think it would require a lot of change in the way things are done in the political system that I don't see happening. But it would avoid a lot of the problems that we have now where you've got so much influence coming in from whoever's got the money.
I do agree that it'll probably be a long time until we can get to a system where it's not a professional politician all the time running for president and Congress. But I think we do have the means to do that. The internet is huge. Most people have the internet. Most people have a decent connection. They can watch videos. And maybe we need to start relying on that. Anymore, someone could run for president if they really wanted to on a minimal budget by posting their platform and their speeches, and even town meetings that would normally cost, tons of money just to drive back and forth across the country to state, now could just be held on the internet. It's sad that we don't use it in that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think the internet is a great untapped resource. It's extremely cheap to use. It reaches a huge audience that most politicians don't even take seriously. The internet is still viewed as
a plaything.
Yeah, just a toy for people to get on and watch silly YouTube videos, and they don't take seriously how many people actually get on the internet and watch the news from there and get all their information, which is what most people do nowadays, but they don't seem to want to use that.
Yes. Another problem with our country is I don't think we take our Congress very serious when it comes to voting. You should probably invest just as much time, if not more time, into who your congressmen are going to be, because if they don't agree with what the president agrees, it's not going to go through. And you can say it works both ways, but in the same sense, if you have a Congress that views very strongly with what you want, they can overpower the president also. So guys, thanks for listening to our ramble. If you have any comments or questions or maybe even an issue you want us to hit, put it in the comments. And this is Gavin.
And this is Trey, and definitely let us know what you think. Subscribe, rate, and thank you very much.